let's take a look at their schedule. And like I said, they only won 3 games, and all of it was before the month of November. They beat the 49ers in a rainstorm. They beat the Houston Texans because they're the Texans. And they got a surprise road win over the New England Patriots on Monday Night Football. And I believe that this was the game where Justin Fields began to come into his own. But after that, it was loss after loss after loss. Now I know they traded a couple pieces away on their defense to emphasize the rebuild. Examples being Roquan Smith, he was traded to the Ravens, got a big contract, and Robert Quinn was traded to the Eagles, which he didn't really do much there. So hopefully 3-14 will hope they'll be better than 3-14. For some highlights on this from this season, Justin Fields. He came into his own as a runner. Now as a passer, he still needs some work. Hopefully when they get some new pass catchers, hopefully with DJ Moore, and if Chase Claypool lives up to that second round billing, they can help Fields become the next great quarterback in the NFC. And then the Texans beating the Colts. What does this have to do with the Bears? Well, in that Week 18 finale, the Texans, instead of which they had total control of the number one overall pick at the time of this game, but when they decided to beat the Colts on a 2-point conversion, ended up giving the Bears the number one overall pick, and Lovie Smith was fired because of it. But the lowlights, which is basically everything else that happened this season, Justin Fields did get hurt a couple times this year because, for one, his offensive line is bad. Simple as that. And then there's that 10-game losing streak that started off with the Dallas Cowboys and ended with the Minnesota Vikings all the way up to season's end. And I think the Bears did do. They were better than a 10-game losing streak. One thing the Bears had this season was a lot of cap space. And they went through and they played no games in this free agency period. And yes, they traded for DJ Moore for that and part of that Panthers trade. But they added linebacker Tremaine Edmonds from the Bills. They added TJ Edwards from the Eagles. Nate Davis. They got Big Bob Tunyon from Green Bay. DeMarcus Walker. And they added Donta Foreman from the Carolina Panthers. All this, and they only lost David Montgomery, who's now playing for a divisional rival. But the Bears, they had a lot of cap space, and they was able to have a lot of signings on their roster. And then there's their draft. And with their first round pick, they took Darnell Wright. Kind of surprised they went with him instead of Peter Skoronski, given that Northwestern, Illinois, Chicago is in Illinois. Kind of surprised with that. They also added some defensive depth as part of their defensive rebuild as well. And they added another linebacker, Noah Sewell, who could have been a who could have been a first round draft pick, had some things gone his way in Oregon, but still, hopefully with all these acquisitions, the Bears could be better than 3 wins. Do you think they'll be better than 3 wins? Let's take a look at my predictions. Okay, Chicago, let's take a look at your schedule. And to kick off your season, you're kicking it off with your longtime rival, the Green Bay Packers. And lucky for you, Green Bay doesn't have Aaron Rodgers anymore, the guy that owns you. But I think, and despite this, I think Green Bay is going to come out on fire. This is going to be one of those odd games that Green Bay is somehow going to win. Don't ask. I don't know why, but I think Green Bay is going to win this one. Next we have is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I am not high on Tampa Bay this year. I do think Chicago gets their first win of the season against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then against the Chiefs, whom I already predicted yesterday, I I gave this win to the Chiefs. Although the Bears could win, I think the Chiefs are going to be too much for them. Then we have the Broncos. This is another one of those toss-up games. And as much as I want to pick the Bears to win, I'm actually going to go with the Broncos. I do think the Broncos are going to be a better team this year. But against the Commanders on the road on Thursday night, I am going to give them a win here. And you know what? I'm going to give them another win against the Minnesota Vikings. And how about against the Raiders? I'm not high on the Raiders. I'm never high on the Raiders. I'm going to give them a win against the Raiders. And I'm going to give them another win against the Los Angeles Chargers on the road. I do think they're going to win that one. But against the New Orleans Saints, I think their fortune's going to run out here. I have them losing to the Saints. And this brings up another Thursday night game against the Carolina Panthers. I'm actually going to pick I think Bears is going to win this one. The fallout in that game is actually going to be the fallout of that trade that occurred earlier this year. I also got them losing to the Detroit Lions and losing to the Minnesota Vikings. So yes, Kirk Cousins will get a Monday night win. Apparently, when coming on Monday night, he only knows how to beat the Bears on Monday night. Coming off the bye week against the Detroit Lions, I'm going to give them a win here.